Future challenges: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Creating a more diverse department along with a community risk reduction team will be challenging because we have to incorporate people from all walks of life, from different backgrounds, from different emergency service fields, and other job related activities. The training and education. Gaining training and education for multiple divisions and departments will be challenging because we also have to look at in-person training, hybrid training, or basically Zoom training from different states and different areas and different walks of life. Creating buy-in from internal and external stakeholders. We have to gain the buy-in from our workers within the department, but also commingle with the stakeholders that's involved in our operation. That could be Red Cross, that could be FEMA, and other organizations. The installation of change is easier said than done. Starting with our firefighters, our recruiters, and our potential investment partners. This is an installation of culture that has to be driven by executives and by each individual in the department. The financial commitments. How do we sustain funding? How do we gain additional funding? That's for all city administrators and all executives to look into. Recruitment and retention. Recruitment and retention is a global problem right now, not just for emergency services departments, but all departments. But for state departments, funding departments, fire departments, we are all dealing with recruitment and retention issues. We're not seeming to get enough applicants to sustain the operations of the jobs right now. And then once we get them, it's the funding that's not being in place where we're losing to higher paying jobs, especially within my area. I'm in an area where we are dominated by plant workers. So working for a fire department compared to working for an industrial facility, a private facility at that, is apples and oranges. But we have to gain a new culture that cultivates each individual to want to work for the fire department and want to work as a community servant. The fire department chief officer roles in community risk reduction. It's our job to properly educate internally and externally the individuals that we're trying to reach. We have to provide the leadership and the supervision. Recruit and retain quality personnel. We have to empower and teach. The old way of thinking that everything went through the fire chief and it was the fire chief's final word, is his say so, these things have to change. The measure of great leadership is not being the only one that can make a decision. We have to teach and we have to empower all areas of the organization where they can make sound judgment, where the fire chief is only there to do his part. Strategically planning. Our strategic planning processes has to get better. We have to be able to work with interagency participation so that this job can be done more effectively and more efficiently. We also have to secure funding resources through donations, through grant writing. We have to take advantage of the opportunity to state funding, the government subsidies that's there, but we have to educate ourselves as executive officers so we could have adequate amount of money to produce all needed assets for the jobs. And we also have to budget appropriately. We have to look deeply within our budgets so we can ensure that we have a certain amount of money to put towards community risk reduction, just in case our external stakeholders can't produce what they once has produced. We can't rely solely on donations when we all operating through a budget. Community risk reduction has been something that's been thought of in the shadows, but now it has become out front. So since it's out front now, it's no need to worry about what happened previously. What are we going to do now? What is the plan to budget appropriately so these programs do not fall short again? And that goes into providing a clear vision. The clear vision is once we get this program going and we have all team members established, we all have to write out the plan so we could disseminate this plan throughout the ranks, throughout multiple organizations. Gain buy-in from our city council, our city officials, our fire boards, even our state fire marshal. If we could set down meetings where we could let them know what is the target hazards that we're trying to mitigate. Because again, we do not have to reinvent the wheel. There are programs there that just have not been tapped in from your region. The public safety personnel risk reduction. It has to be properly managed for safety and risk plans and programs. We have to educate administrations across the emergency services. We have to train them in occupational health and safety efforts. It's a way to do things, and it's a way to safely do things. We can't expect them to safely operate effectively if we do not train each individual to do that. Develop provisions for high target areas. Looking at the Louisiana fire laws, we know what's the target areas. We know what's the biggest issues. Now, once we get that quantitative data from our IT departments, we could focus on areas within our cities and our rural areas, and we know how to develop a program that will effectively mitigate those. Ensure prevention measures are placed by citizens, volunteers, and employees. We have to have some kind of measures in place. We cannot operate blindly and think and hope that a program is working. We have to have buffers and barriers. We have to schedule quarterly meetings, semi-annual meetings, annually meetings to make sure that our program is operating efficiently. And we also have to create a safe and successful work environment so we can mitigate the risk for our employees. This concludes the Community Risk Reduction Plan. Do I have any questions? Thank you.